Federal appeals court greenlights discrimination against non-theists.
Of course it does.
Right. So,
sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off mid-flow. Yeah, I mean, to the audience, just brace yourselves. You've got a couple more decades of this shit going.
Yeah. A federal appeals court on Friday handed down a disturbing ruling that elevates the rights of theistic believers over those of non-theists. The Third U.S. Circuit Court of Appeals decision in Fields versus Speaker of the Pennsylvania House of Representatives is part of a troubling trend in the courts that not only dilutes separation of church and state, but grants special privileges to people because they believe in a God. Americans United and American Atheists brought the case on behalf of a group of non-theists in the state who wanted to do something theistic believers do frequently: give guest invocations before the Pennsylvania House of Representatives. Officials at the House refused, and AU filed suit. Atheists United filed suit.
Yeah.
It's important to remember that Americans United and its allies were not trying to stop the prayers before the House entirely. All we sought was equal treatment between believers and non-theists. However, nevertheless, the court ruled 2-1 that the House could constitutionally turn away the non-theists. Its logic is troubling. According to the court, non-theistic people are not capable of meeting the goals of legislative prayer. Only believers in the divine can do that.
There are no goals of legislative prayer.
How the fuck is this not establishment of a religion?
It is.
The state establishing a religion. How the fuck is that not that?
It's sponsorship of religion. So the argument that needs to be made here that fails is like, oh, no, it's not establishing a religion. It's just acknowledging that non-belief is, here, we'll take another take of that. Oh, no, it's not establishing a religion. It's, just establishing that non-religion isn't. But the problem with this argument is that when the Constitution was written and the jurisprudence that's developed since then, which is almost... you can give whatever. Comparisons don't matter, but is equally as important in order to understand where we are. It didn't say, oh, you can establish 2 religions and then you're fine. That would also be unconstitutional. So would 3. So would 4. So would 5. So would all of them. So don't say, oh, because we're just excluding non-believers, we're not establishing religion. It is establishing religion.
Yeah, they just did.
Yeah.
Only theistic prayer can satisfy all the traditional purposes of legislative prayer, wrote the court.
I mean, that is almost true because particularly reading Seidel, the founders had a very patrician view of the plebeians.
Right.
Of they don't have the time and education to reason for what's good. They need religion. And so arguably the only reason they would have, and the only reason they had, to have any kind of prayers or whatever was to satisfy religious zealots. Like there's an Episcopal bishop that was there before the Constitutional Convention in a meeting, and they suggested that he give the prayer because, I don't have a problem with it, and I understand that he is a man that would have a problem hearing someone else's prayer, so we'll let him do it. So if your statement is, having a theistic prayer satiates the desires of radical believers, that's the traditional usage there. If that shows up in a fucking federal court decision, 1, I'm going to be really proud of my ability to reason, and 2, I will weep for my country.
Yep.
Sorry. Didn't mean to interrupt.
Court went on to say, as a matter of traditional practice, a petition to human wisdom and the power of science does not capture the full sense of prayer historically understood.
What state is this? Pennsylvania?
Pennsylvania. At bottom, legislative prayer seeks divine guidance in lawmaking. And that is precisely what we don't fucking want.
No, it doesn't. It's never...
This is frustrating. This is really frustrating. 2019, we're still dealing with superstition and fairy tales and magic incantations, which is what prayer is.
Yeah. I mean, Christians made fun of medicine men and
Shamans.
and what they consider savages and all this because they believed in evil spirits.
Yeah.
And here they are, believing in evil spirits. And
So would you say that
it's
most
like, what the
Americans,
fuck?
Christian or non-Christian or whatever religion, would say that government is broken?
I mean, my understanding. Actually, no, I don't have any data on that. However, my feeling.
Just a feeling. But most people, you
So
generally
allow me to wildly speculate about the feelings of my fellow country people based on the feeling.
Which is a simplistic answer. Do you think
I
most
think-
people, if you ask most people about the government, would they agree that they would say that it's probably broken? My point is,
I think they would agree with that phrasing.
yeah.
Yeah.
My point is that we've had prayer. It's not working.
Yeah.
It's not
Well.
working.
The court buttressed its argument by
They did what?
Buttressed.
It buttressed its argument by
buttressed it.
pointing to historical practices.
How does one buttress?
No, so to buttress something is to support it.
Support it, yeah.
Yes, from a foundational viewpoint. So it's from like flying buttresses in churches allowed them to have taller and larger,
Like buttress
actually
flies?
more beautiful cathedrals. What the fuck? Buttressize?
Butterflies.
Butterflies?
No, buttress flies.
Buttress flies.
Yeah.
What are you saying words right now? What is this? You look like I don't know. I feel
Allow
like
me
I'm
to
being
continue.
Yes, please.
be continued.
Please restore reason to
As
this
Judge
discourse.
L. Felipe Restrepo noted in his dissent, limiting prayer to theists only requires the government to wade into a theological thicket.
Yep.
Buddhism, he noted, doesn't have a concept of a personal God, but is still considered a major world religion. Yet, under the rules of the Pennsylvania House, Buddhists could be excluded from offering guest prayers. The court's majority opinion, however, insisted that it would be unconstitutional to exclude Buddhists. Restrepo further observed, by mandating that all guest chaplains profess a belief in a higher power or God, the Pennsylvania House fails to stay neutral in matters of religious theory. In effect, the Pennsylvania House promotes one religious theory, belief in God or some sort of supreme deity, against another, the denial of the existence of such a deity. Or something, yeah.
Yes.
While the ruling is limited to the issue of legislative prayer, it's still troubling. It's yet another in a problematic line of recent decisions that allow government entities to endorse and promote religion. Just about always Christianity, as long as it's being done for historic purposes.
For historic purposes.
Historic.
As long as it's done for, so not about invoking God.
They're allowing it. I don't know. Yeah.
Well, allow me to
Invoking
fucking
God.
cross-examine some fucking witnesses right here. My lay person, non-lawyer self. Yeah.
I'd be kind of pissed because, I mean, I didn't vote for these assholes to be praying. I
Yeah.
voted for them to be doing
Yeah.
shit.
I was gonna say, can we vote on the prayer? Because
And I know I've heard stories in past from other government groups, where they had somebody come in who was maybe of an Indian religion, the Hindi, or
had
even
a
Muslim,
Buddhist do
and
an
the Christians
invocation.
literally just get up and walk out.
yeah, there was one particular case in
Texas.
No,
Oklahoma?
it was some
Alabama?
state
Mississippi,
in the United States. Fuck, I forget where it is.
Atlanta,
It's basically the story
Florida?
that you just described. No, I don't. It may have
North
been
Carolina?
Florida, or North Carolina. I think it was East Coast, south of the Northeast.
Yeah. There's a bit of editorializing at the end here. While treating non-theists like second-class citizens may have been part of our nation's history, it's a shameful practice, hardly something we ought to uphold today.
I was gonna say, I don't know. I think, Thomas Paine had his problems because he didn't keep his mouth shut about, not believing. But we had deists and non-believers and all sorts of whatever. There's this book I'm going to hand you, Dennis. It's actually really good. It's be great.
Okay.
Yeah. And let's, for our next segment, I don't know. I feel like I've hit that one to death. Derek, do you have anything else you wanted to add on that before we go to our first listener mail?
I'm good.
All right. Well, then,